Hi, my name is ZaKaiRan and welcome to my video podcast, How to Get Rich by Building Assets Rather Than Working for Money. Or, I'd rather be rich and generous than poor and greedy. Or, the more people you can serve and help, the richer you can get. So, what the heck do I mean by that enigmatic title? Because when we usually think of greed, we usually think of greedy rich people, not greedy poor people. But I can assure you that there are a lot more greedy poor people than greedy rich people. So how can that be? What do you mean, ZaKaiRan? Well, let's analyze what greed really is. Most people believe greed to be someone who just has more money than me and who can't seem to get enough money. I mean, it's the rich person who just doesn't seem to ever be satisfied and who must always have more and more and more and who doesn't share their wealth. And that is accurate for some people, of course, but those same greedy traits could be applied to most people on planet Earth, regardless of their financial status. The only difference is most people are greedy poor people instead of greedy rich people. The tendency for most working class people to try to live way above their means with the help of credit cards and very bad debt is absolute greed to the 100th degree. The average consumer in the first world is greedy even if they are not remotely rich, because similarly to a greedy rich person, they just can't seem to get enough. No matter how many toys and cars and houses they get, they are never satisfied. No matter how much money they spend on drinks and dinner and entertainment and get more and more and more and more in debt, they just can't seem to get enough. That is because most people live their lives in a conditional, greedy way. Their happiness is dependent upon conditions. And if they can buy a new thing or do a new thing, they're happy. But if their lack of finances do not allow them to buy a new shiny something and their credit cards are all maxed out, they are sad sacks. And this conditional existence where your happiness is dependent upon having money and toys or not is greed at its finest. It is poor man's greed rather than rich man's greed, but it's greed nonetheless. The only difference between rich man's greed and poor man's greed is one person has the money and the connections and the opportunities to obtain more money and buy more things to try to feel happy, while the other person does not have the money, connections, and opportunities to obtain more money and buy new things to try to be happy. But both are greedy nonetheless. So how do I not be a greedy bastard? And especially, how do I become a rich and generous person that is not corrupted by greed? The key is to become an unconditional liver and lover and creator and an unconditional money generator. In other words, you must learn how to be happy regardless of the conditions of your life, including your financial conditions, your financial status. You've got to learn how to be happy whether you are rich or poor or anything in between, which means you no longer use money as a condition to create happiness in your life or as a condition to prove anything to yourself or others, or as a condition of sadness in your life and depression in your life and angry in your life and disappointed in your life, etc. In other words, you don't use money and success as a way to prove your worth, to prove your happiness, or to create sadness. The key to being an unconditional liver, lover, and money manifester is to get happy and maintain your joy and your excitement and your fulfillment independent of anything you do or have, and independent of what anyone else thinks, says, or does. So you also don't use people as a dependent condition of your happiness. When you can do that, rich or poor, you are the definition of ungreediness, and you will naturally become a caring, generous, and compassionate person. But you won't give all your money away as some penance for achieving happiness because of some faulty belief that there is a limited supply of happiness and you've hoarded the happiness limit. And if you become wealthy as a wealthy person, you also won't give all your money away out of some guilt that you are taking more than your fair share of the wealth pie, because you know that there is no such thing as a limited supply of wealth, just like you know there's not a limited supply of health or happiness. And everyone has the equal ability to follow in your footsteps and be happy and wealthy and be happy and healthy and poor or anything in between, because everyone has the same power within them to create anything they desire. And you also don't need to give all your money away to prove you're generous and not a greedy bastard. The reason most people won't become rich is because they are greedy and scared little chickens, and therefore have no ability to be generous. Because in order to get rich, you've got to become generous and believe in abundance, not lack and scarcity. Most people are poor because they believe that there is a finite supply of money and wealth and resources, and they believe that there are people who are hoarding more than their fair share of the supposedly limited supply of wealth and keeping the poor people from getting rich. But as any rich person knows, there is no such thing as a limited supply of wealth and resources and opportunities. There is no such thing as a limited supply of resources or opportunities to get wealthy and rich and be happy. You see, greedy people work for money, and so most people will be poor their entire lives because working for money makes you a slave to money. Whereas rich people work to build assets that make them rich and free, not just make them money. It gives them freedom. And the only way to build an asset, such as a business, you've got to be thinking more about other people and how they can benefit, rather than just how much I can make and what kind of benefits I can get. And in order to build an asset, such as a business or real estate or rental properties or commercial properties or investments, etc., you've got to build a network. Every single successful business person, business, or corporation has a huge network of people who are helping the company succeed, but who are benefiting personally from helping that business succeed. Every business has a network of employees and marketers and distributors and transporters and shippers and manufacturers, etc. And all those people are benefiting from the success of the company. And that is generosity, not greed. And any truly successful company owner paid everyone else first before they paid themselves in order to ensure the success of the assets, not just to give them fast cars and big houses. And it's only the greedy assholes who pay themselves huge salaries and rob all of their employees of a decent wage and benefits who drives companies to bankruptcy. And that's because those greedy CEOs were working for money, not working to build an asset that is worth much more than a measly salary, even if it's a multi-million-dollar salary. So again, if you really want to become rich, you've got to build assets and build networks and not just work for money. Working for money makes you a greedy, conditional liver who's only happy if you have money. And being a greedy, conditional liver also makes you unhappy if you don't have money. It also makes you a greedy, rampant consumer, like most people on planet Earth, that cares not about the consequences of your greedy consumer addiction to having the next shiny thing. So, what kind of assets and networks can you build to become a generous, rich person who creates businesses and assets that get you rich by helping improve the lives of other people? The key is to create business assets and investment opportunities and products, etc., that have great value to improve the quality of people's lives. by making their lives more convenient and helping them have more fun, freedom, health, and wealth in their lives. And creating assets and businesses and opportunities and products that helps others to do the same thing, which naturally builds a network of like-minded people and spreads the wealth and generosity around. And a classic business structure that facilitates that quite easily and optimally is network marketing. Traditional business theoretically does the same thing of building assets and networks and products that spreads the wealth, but no other business model like network marketing spreads the wealth more generously because of the fact that so little is required financially to get involved, especially compared to starting your own traditional business or a franchise that would cost you hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars to get started. And, of course, put you in lots of debt. And it would take massive expertise and countless hours and years and years and years of building every aspect of the business. And if you do succeed, finally be in profit in maybe 5 to 10, 15 years. So there's a lot of pieces on the board to put into their proper position for success in traditional business and franchises. That's why most traditional businesses don't last more than 2 years. There's too many balls to juggle. But with network marketing, all of the pieces of the board are already in place. All the systems of success are already put in place for you. The products are already made. The distribution network is already set up. The marketing system is already set up. The training is already set up, hopefully, if it's a really good company. And the only piece of the board that is not in place is you. And to succeed in network marketing, just like succeeding in any business, you've got to learn how to succeed and how to build a network. If you are a scared little chicken, then you don't have a chance at success. And if you're only interested in yourself and your own paycheck, then again, your chances of success are limited. That's why most people fail in network marketing, just like people fail in traditional business. It's because they're greedy and they're working for money rather than working to build an asset and a system that's going to make them rich. Successful business owners and successful network marketers understand the concept of delayed gratification and working even for free to build an asset that gets them rich later. Maybe not right now, but later. They understand the concept of temporary sacrifice of time and money to build something that pays them for the rest of their lives and even creates a legacy that they can pass on to their children. So in the early years of business, you've got to be willing to work for free. I don't care if you're in a traditional business or a network marketing business. And that is a lesson that Robert Kiyosaki's rich dad taught him at a very early age, which helped him succeed. And this is a lesson that most people do not understand with their trade hours for dollars mentality. And another reason people fail in traditional businesses and network marketing is because they can't handle making little or no money for possibly many years as they put all their profits back into the business and into building the network, into building the asset that's not paying them necessarily now, but will definitely pay them immensely in the future. The people who succeed big time in business built an asset that pays them forever and ever. And similarly, the people who succeed big time in network marketing build an asset that will pay them forever and ever. They built a legacy. They sacrificed the steady paycheck to build an asset that would be 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times more profitable than getting paid for a day's labor. And the asset they built was a network of like-minded people who are generous and who want to spread the wealth around to other people. The asset they build is a network of people who help people, which capitalizes on the success principles of the more people you can serve and help to improve the quality of their lives, the richer you can get. The more value you can provide to more people, the more leverage you have to succeed and get really, really rich. Ignorant, fearful people who only think about what they could lose rather than what they could gain run from network marketing and from network marketers because they're scared and greedy. If you're only thinking about what you could lose rather than what you could gain, you have fallen into the scared, greedy trap, and guaranteed you are struggling financially. All you're thinking about is me, what could I lose? You're not thinking about how many people you could help with this. And those same people run from traditional business as well for the same reason, fear of failure. And they run from investment opportunities and call them a scam, and they run from anything outside of traditional employment for fear of loss rather than the excitement of gain. So, they never gain any financial leverage to get out of the rat race. Building a network of like-minded, freedom-oriented people gives you massive leverage, the kind of leverage that corporations have with their network of employees and managers and distributors and marketers, etc. That is why when people do build a large network of people in their team, they receive similar massive levels of income as the CEOs of top corporations and similar income levels as big company owners with thousands of employees, because it's the network that builds any business success, whether it's a traditional business or a network marketed business. A network gives you massive leverage. A network is a priceless asset, more priceless than a piece of real estate, because real estate can grow in value, but it can't grow physically. Once that building is built, it isn't going to miraculously grow any bigger of its own accord. But a network of people who all own their own businesses can grow exponentially of its own accord. Similarly, franchises can grow of their own accord or more as more people invest in those, buying their own franchises, but the massive cost to buy a franchise limits the growth of that franchise. Whereas there is no real limitation to the growth of a network marketed company. And there is no real limitation to the potential growth of any one network marketer's business because of the massive amount of people on planet Earth and the low cost of getting started. So, what's your financial strategy to get out of the rat race and retire young and retire rich? Do you even have one? If you're working hard for your money rather than money working hard for you, then you have no financial leverage. If you're working for money and trading hours for dollars, and you're not building assets and networks, then your wealth leverage potential is zero. If you're not building an asset, such as a side business, a network marketed business, or an investment portfolio, or an online business of some sort, or a real estate portfolio, if you're not building assets and networks, then your chance of ever getting out of the rat race is zero. And you're getting to, you're the possibility of you getting to retire rich and instead retiring poor is quite inevitable. And if you live your life like a typical consumer, living off of credit card debt and always buying the next shiny, greatest iPhone or iCar or iHouse or shiny bauble or the latest, hottest designer couture, well, I have news for you. You are a greedy, poor person. Even if you have a bitchin' corporate job that pays a massive salary, if you're just working for money and you're not building assets and networks, then my friend, you are a greedy, poor person. You're poor because you have no freedom. You have no financial leverage. And you have no legitimate exit plan to get out of the rat race, and no way to retire in style, which is how we all should be retiring. Not poor. Not retiring poor. But instead, most people are retiring poor rather than retiring rich. Pension funds and mutual funds are not going to help you retire rich, baby. They will only help you retire poor with 40% less income than when you were working. Now, I don't know about you, but I would prefer to retire on 40% or more income than when I was working than 40% less. I'd prefer to retire rich rather than retire poor, and I'd prefer to retire rich and retire young rather than old. And to get there, you need a mindset shift. And that mindset shift is to become an unconditional liver, lover, and creator, where your happiness and your prosperity are not dependent upon conditions around you and conditions in the world and conditions of what other people are doing or not doing. And are you a conditional liver or an unconditional liver? The condition of money and toys and the representations of wealth are the dependent conditions you need to be happy, then you're living a very powerless position. And the likelihood of you getting rich is unlikely. And if you do get rich, you won't ever truly be happy, because you will always need another condition to change to ensure your happiness. And then another, and then another, and then another, forever and ever, like a drug addict. And that is the absolute definition of greed. And being greedy is the most disempowered financial position you can put yourself in. The only way to truly be happy is to be an unconditional liver and an unconditional lover and an unconditional creator. When you're happy regardless of any conditions, and you're loving regardless of any conditions, and being happy first regardless of conditions puts you in a rich and prosperous vibrational state, which is a vibrational match to money and riches and financial prosperity and freedom. But just as a natural consequence of living in an inner state of richness, and as a naturally rich person who is rich in mind first, who is working because you are inspired to, from your natural state of joy and your natural desires to create wonderful new things, you naturally build assets and networks that benefit others and improves their lives on countless levels. Your natural state of richness and prosperity and generosity inspires you to naturally be involved in projects that are win-wins for everyone, because win-wins are the most profitable opportunities because they have no limitations. And as a naturally inner rich person, limitation is not in your vocabulary, and impossible is a word you have never heard of. You are an all-powerful creator, and you can be, do, and have whatever you want, and just with desire and belief, you can create absolutely anything. And the entire universe of creation is right there to help you. You have absolutely no limitations, except those limitations that you convince yourself are true. There's no limitation of money or riches or resources or opportunities of any kind, except those limitations you convince yourself to be true. And you can retire young and you can retire rich if you get your mind focused to it. And I'm happy to help you in that regard. And I have a way to help you achieve that goal. And all it takes is an open mind and a focus upon what you can gain rather than what you could lose. All it takes is for you to have a courageous generosity mindset rather than a scared, greedy, consumerist mindset. All that is required of you is a prosperity mindset, and a win-win mindset, and a trust and faith mindset, and a delayed gratification mindset where your happiness is not dependent upon immediate gratification. And with my support, I'm happy to help you get out of the rat race and onto the road of freedom. So if that sounds like you, if you'd rather get your money working hard for you rather than you working hard for money, then contact me now at ilovefreedom.info. That's ilovefreedom.info, and I will show you how. My name is ZaKaiRan, and I help success-minded people create the happy, abundant lifestyle you love. Come visit me at ZaKaiRan.com for more supportive goodies for you to be a conscious, deliberate, creative reality. Thanks for watching this video or listening to this podcast, and I wish you immense joy and abundance on your magnificent journey of divine creation. And remember to make life a holiday. Woohoo! Woohoo!